Hello, this is Scott Spence. I'm the Artistic Director of the Beck Center, and I am thrilled to offer you episode 3 of our Corona vlog. We're calling Above the Waist for obvious reasons. We've had a couple wonderful guests so far, and why stop now? So we have another terrifically talented artist who is also a Beck Center alum, and it is my great pleasure to spend the next 30 minutes or so with Beck alum and Hollywood and TV and film and theater actor, Mr. Michael Chernus. Michael, how are you?
Hi, Scott. I'm good. It's great to see your face.
Oh, you too. It's so glad. This has turned out to be a great technology in terms of catching up with people, if nothing else. And, we'll try and treat everyone else as we can. So how you doing? You doing well? You holding up?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. I mean, it's weird. I'm on day, I think, 36 of quarantining or isolating. My wife and I have a house upstate about an hour and a half north of New York City. And we left on Thursday, March 12th, and left the city and came up here.
That's the day, isn't it? That's the day.
It really is, right? Yeah. I watched your vlog with Rory and that date came up as well. Yeah, it's so funny. It's like BC before COVID and AC after COVID.
Yeah, I think we're doomed for that.
Yeah.
So tell me, we all have our interruption story. What were you working on when your world abruptly slammed into a wall like the rest of us?
Yeah, I was about to start a 6-part mini series for the USA Network about Evel Knievel. Milo Ventimiglia from This Is Us and many other things was set to play Evel. I was going to play a sort of fictional character that was a mashup, pastiche, amalgam of a couple real people in Evel's life, but basically sort of his best friend and co-worker and right-hand man. And we were going to be shooting in Albuquerque, New Mexico. An old playwright friend of mine was the head writer and creator of the miniseries. And I was originally supposed to leave on March 12th. About a week before March 12th, they pushed it a couple weeks, but we're still planning on shooting. And I was supposed to leave a week later, and then that didn't happen. But I was supposed to be in New Mexico right now shooting this thing.
Amazing. So you weren't quite in the middle, but you were about to be in the middle. And I guess probably better. I can't imagine getting there and shooting for 48 hours and then stopping.
No, I feel really blessed and very lucky that we hadn't started yet. And
is there life for that project later on, you hope?
I have no idea. I mean, like everything, I just feel like everything's on hold and on pause. I would think so. I don't know if it would have to punt until next year just because of Milo's schedule and whatnot, but I would think once the world returns to some semblance of normalcy.
I like that confidence. It must.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell us I had alluded to the fact that you are indeed a Beck alum. I think if I'm remembering right, both in our youth theater and did a little work with the adult theater, one that I remember specifically, but tell us a little bit about your history with Beck Center.
Yes, I am a proud Beck Center alum. I really, there's such a special place in my heart for Beck. Rory O'Malley said this in your first edition of this, but I really credit Beck for everything, for my career, for being an actor. Rory said Beck saved his life, and I agree with that. And I would sort of edit that or change that to, I feel like Beck Center gave me my life in terms of being an actor. I feel like I learned that being an artist was a possibility, that community existed, that this lifestyle of being in the arts was a viable one. My first session was a summer children's theater session between my 8th grade year and my 9th grade year. It was just a couple classes, but Lynette Gutman, the late great Lynette Gutman, was singing.
Miss her so much.
Miss her every day. And she kind of took me under her wing. I was a shy, nerdy kid. I was not confident yet on stage, but everyone was so warm and accepting and encouraging and supportive at the Beck Center. And it also just gave me this community of friends, other kids from the greater Cleveland area who didn't necessarily go to my high school. Actually, no one, I think, from my high school was there at the time. And so I had this whole new group of people. And so then I just kept taking classes 9th through 12th grade and was in a lot of the children's theater shows and then the teen theater shows. And yeah, and then by my senior year, you directed me in The Lion in Winter on the main stage. And I really was like, I think, again, Rory said the same thing, but I was living at the Beck Center. I feel like I was there every minute I wasn't at my high school, I was at the Beck Center.
It's the way we wanted it, right?
Yeah.
One way to keep you out of trouble. I
Right.
have a lot of great memories from our production of Lion in Winter, but I think most of all, I was grateful for you because you were 5'8" like me, because I count that to this day as the world's tallest cast.
It
we,
really
we
was.
had we had people, you know, who were 6'6", 6'4". I mean, it was this monster of a cast, and here you were, the future King John.
Yeah. But just a pimply faced John, you know, like the young little runt. It was so perfect that I was, you know, half the size of all those other giant men in the cast.
Yeah, that was a really great experience. Yeah, a lot of my favorite people, some of which we've lost. But
Yeah.
yeah, a great experience. So as you alluded to earlier, that was your senior year. And then you may have already gotten the information. We weren't sure. We were talking offline about your college plans.
Yeah, so probably right around that time, I auditioned for a bunch of conservatories and theater schools, and I was accepted at the Juilliard School in New York. And there's another Beck Center connection there. So my freshman year of high school, there was an actor who was a senior in high school. He went to St. Ignatius, who was taking classes at the Beck Center, a guy named Michael Tisdale. And
Sure.
he got into Juilliard, and he would come back every summer and regale all of us with these stories of the city and his actor training program. And he would teach sort of an advanced teen acting class in the summer sessions. So I remember probably, you know, the summer after my sophomore year of high school, Michael handing a bunch of us these like Sam Shepard plays and David Mamet plays and Eugene O'Neill plays, and just my brain exploding. You know, because mostly at that age, I did like Hansel and Gretel and Alice in Wonderland and these beautiful children's theater productions, but to be digging into this rich sort of adult material was really mind expanding. And having Michael as an older peer through Beck Center really was this guiding light of, it made it real. It made moving to New York and becoming an actor seem attainable and like possible. And so I really credit him and Beck for just it not seeming like such a crazy dream that this kid from Rocky River, Ohio could move to New York and become an actor. And I felt like I had the tools and the vocabulary in my bag by the time I graduated high school that I could move to New York and be in rooms where people were talking in really nuanced ways about plays, and I was not out of my element. You know, I really the technique, I got it back, the training, I got it back, served me so much once I got to New York.
Well, we can certainly be thrilled that we're any sort of springboard to an institution like Juilliard. That I'm sure first semester is overwhelming, and then you start to acclimate. And I don't think you ever quite forget, though, that I'm at Juilliard right now. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you never do forget. It is a bit of culture shock when you arrive. It took a long time to get adjusted to. Sure.
Yeah, well, clearly you benefited and gained every ounce you could, because, you know, your career, which is still just, you know, just smacking, hitting its stride right now, I know, you know, is emblematic of the, you know, of the training you got, because you've really become that wonderful entertainment triple threat, not in the musical theater sense perhaps, but that you've gotten to do theater and movies and television. So I'd love to, you know, journey down each one of those paths, and and talk about a little bit. So starting with theater, which actually now in your career, you've done less of theater, now than, the other two things. And that's okay. We're earning a salary, and that's a very good thing. And ultimately it will enable you to come back to me someday, which I've talked to both Rory and Becca. Maybe we do all a show together.
Yeah.
We, when the timing is right, we'd love to have you back. So you'll just have to go, hey, now let's do this, and we'll figure that out. But I know that you did a number of shows in New York at Playwrights Horizons, Roundabout, Primary Stages. But I think it was at the Public where you may have gotten the show that, got you really kick-started in the Lisa Crone. Am I pronouncing her last name right?
Yeah,
Crone?
exactly. Yeah, Lisa.
Yeah, who's very famous for her musical Fun Home. But she did another play that you were nominated or won. No, you won the Obie Award for that show. Tell us a little bit about that whole experience.
Yeah, that was this period where I was lucky enough to be, I was very consistently working off Broadway. I was doing sort of back-to-back plays constantly. But as you said, it was difficult because I was barely earning a living, and working 8 shows a week. And Lisa was and is a dear friend of mine. And so she had written this part in this play for me. And we had workshopped it at the Sundance Institute a year or two prior. And it just perfectly fell into my schedule. And it was just one of those things where all the elements and stars aligned. And the Obies are a really interesting award ceremony. They call it Off-Broadway's highest honor. And
right.
It's they don't announce any nominees or categories beforehand. You just get sort of this vague phone call or email like, you've been invited to attend the Obie Awards.
Great mystery.
You can kind of smell it. You're like, oh, I'm up for something. But they don't say you're nominated for an award or anything. So you just show up. And it was always at Webster Hall in the West Village. And you don't know what's going to happen. And then they just start announcing winners and people. It's this really beautiful ceremony where it doesn't feel so competitive. They just are sort of, celebrating people. Yeah. And so I was lucky enough to win an Obie for my performance in that play.
And that was In the Wake?
Yeah, a play called In the Wake.
Right.
But yeah, the first, I would say 10 years or so of my career were mostly doing new plays off Broadway, which truly, from an artistic standpoint, is my favorite thing to do. To work with a living writer in the room and feel like the choices you're making as an actor in rehearsal are in any way influencing the changes that they make in the play is just such a thrill. I remember being a kid and reading plays that I got from the library or wherever, and cracking open that first page of the Sam French edition and seeing the original cast, the New York cast, and being like, how cool would it be to have your name printed in the...
I think every young actor, with all the aspirations young actors have, I really think that that's one of those things after working in plays in high school and college, you open that and go, someday, man, someday that'll be my name. And you got to live that a couple times. You've
gotten to do that a couple times. So that, to me, those moments are still some of the richest and the most important. And when I was at Juilliard, there were a lot of young writers. There was a playwriting program there still is. And so a lot of my pals were just writers who were my age. And when we got out of school, they were out of work playwrights and I was an out of work actor. So we would workshop their stuff, often for free in storefronts and little spaces. And those people ended up going on to become really established playwrights. But
yeah, that's amazing. It's a good lesson. When you're in school, be kind to the playwrights because that'll pay off later if they like you.
That's really true. Yeah.
So clearly then, even while you were dabbling in all the off-Broadway work, it looked like you were, starting to branch into some film and some TV and, jump into film. You've already, at your young, tender age, logged over 30 movies. Incredible. And some pretty significant titles, things like, Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks, and Spider-Man: Homecoming. There's a fun Marvel title.
Yeah.
Born Legacy with Ed Norton. And it looks like you're working on, you just recently wrapped, at least according to your IMDb page, Werewolves Within, that just wrapped filming right before all this. That sounds intriguing. I guess that's based on, what I read that was based on something.
It's based on a video game.
That's it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a really cool movie. It's a horror comedy. It's got a bunch of great, like, comedian actors and improvisational actors, and it was just such a fun set to be on. And yeah, we finished like a week or two before everyone went into quarantine. Yeah.
So are you going to be the first actor to finally go public with what a terrible person Tom Hanks is? I mean, you're not going to break that string?
No way. He is the best. He's the best guy ever. He's everything you want him to be and more. In fact, I've emailed with him a couple of times recently, because when he got diagnosed with COVID, I reached out just to say, I hope you're doing well, not expecting any response whatsoever.
Right.
And he wrote back within like an hour and immediately was like, how are you? Where are you? Where are you?
Yeah, that's vintage him from what you hear.
Yeah, that's exactly who he is. I always said, like, I spent probably 6 weeks with him on an actual container ship. We shot in the Mediterranean. We were, the entire section of the film that I'm in, we were stationed in Malta, and we would go out to sea every day on an actual Maersk merchant marine ship. And so we had all this downtime together while the ship was going out to sea every day before we could start shooting. And I left that experience, and I jokingly always say, he knows all these things about me and I know nothing about him, because he's the greatest. He's so inquisitive about you. You know, he would be like, tell me, oh my God, you went to Juilliard. What was that like? You know, what were your days like? And how many people auditioned? And I would say, oh, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000. How many get in? And I'd say, you know, they're about 20, 25 a year. Oh my God, you beat the odds. Be like, Tom Hanks, you won back-to-back Oscars. You beat the odds. Right. I got into college. Like, what are you talking about? But he's just the sweetest man. And funnily enough, one of my first nights in Malta, I got to tell him a story of when I met him in Cleveland when I was in high school. So there was an actor at the Beck Center named Colin Moeller. Do you remember Colin?
Sure. Colin is actually on our board of trustees.
Oh, that's
Colin Moeller, now a lawyer. That wonderful Moeller family. All of them went on to do terrific things. But yeah, he's on our board, and he was in my production of To Kill a Mockingbird. So I know Colin well.
Yeah. I forgot he was on the board. He was at my wedding a couple of years ago, and we talked about that. So Colin's mom, Judy, was the company manager at Great Lakes Theater Festival.
Right.
And Tom Hanks famously had his first like professional acting gig at Great Lakes Theater back when it was located in Lakewood. And he was in Two Gentlemen of Verona, and he generously gives back to Great Lakes over the years. So this was in the mid-90s, and Tom was coming to Cleveland for a one-night only benefit performance at the Ohio Theater.
Right.
And Colin's mom said, do you guys want to work the event to make a couple extra bucks? And we said, sure. And she was like,
no, we'll take a pass on that. Right.
And he said, you get to, she said, you can see the show, but you have to like work before the show. And then the most important thing is you have to work the reception afterwards. We were like, great. So we go see the show. It's great. And then we show up at this restaurant in Cleveland. I don't remember where it was, but it was a snowy Cleveland night. And our first job of the night was to stand in the parking space right in front of the entrance of the restaurant so that Mr. Hanks's car could pull up and he could just get right out and go into the restaurant. So Colin and I are out there shivering in the cold and holding this parking space. And Hanks gets out of the car, and he just shot Philadelphia, so he was really skinny. And he sees us and he goes, "Hey, how's it going, cats?" And I'll just never forget that moment. It was just like, oh my God, it's Tom Hanks. And he called us cats. And like, what does that mean? Does he think he's some 1920s jazz musician or something? And the rest of the night, I'm just standing near his table. I was supposed to be bussing all the tables, but I'm just standing near him, refilling his water glass awkwardly any second I could, you know. And so then all of a sudden, years later, we're in Malta together, and he's asking me like, you know, where are you from? And I was like, I'm from Cleveland. He's like, oh, I know Cleveland. And I was like, well, funny story.
Yes, you do.
We met. And I told him that whole story I just told you. And his only response was, I didn't say cats.
But you did. But you did.
Funnily enough, right here, I have some memorabilia. Speaking of your board member, Colin Moeller, I don't know if you can see this. This is a production of The Night Thoreau Spent in Jail at the Beck Center. That's
I remember
Colin.
it.
That's me. I'm playing Henry David Thoreau, and he's playing my brother. So there we are.
I used to do cuttings from that play in forensics in high school.
It's a great play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love doing that. Here's another photo of me in The Crucible when I'm like 16, playing John Proctor. I don't even think I knew literally what adultery was, but I have to say it, 20 times. But doing those plays, that was that's really when I was really truly bit by the acting bug.
Oh, that's so great. I love those Genesis stories. Right. Well, even with the body of theater work and the film work that you've gotten to do and continue to do, I think your most recent successes have been television bound. You've gotten some amazing credits, and I've had the privilege to be able to see them. I'm, pretty picky when it comes to TV. There's just not a lot of great content, but now obviously with HBO and Netflix, but riveting season after season of Orange is the New Black, playing Piper's brother. Is it Cal Chapman? Cal,
yeah. What
an experience that must have been. I mean, to be able to write a series for 5 seasons, 6 seasons?
I think it ended up being 7 in the end.
Okay.
That was extraordinary. And again, to go back to a topic we'd hit on earlier, I can track all these moments in my career to people I'd met prior, and not in when people talk about connections to young actors, like making, you got to make connections. It's never in the way that you would think of it. A playwright I'd known from earlier in my theater career, ended up being in the writer's room for the first season of Orange, and they were breaking out the outline for the whole first season. And
Kenji, is that right?
Genji Cohen, yeah, she's the head
that's
writer.
Genji.
Yeah, but she's the head writer, and then there were probably like 8 other writers who were the staff, the writing staff. And in the writer's room, they were coming up with the plot and the storyline and the characters, and they came up with this hippie brother who lived in the woods. And I think my friend at the time pulled up a picture of me, and they had this idea board on the wall, a cork board, and he just kind of put the picture on the wall and was like, someone like that, with like a beard and long hair. And everyone was like, yeah, like that guy. And then when it came time to cast, I think my friend was just like, well, that guy on our idea board who's been up there for 6 months, he's an actor, he's a friend of mine. Yeah. And he's a great actor. And they were like, okay, well, let's see if he's available. And I had actually played Taylor Schilling, who played Piper. I played her brother on a short-lived NBC hospital drama called Mercy a few years prior.
Oh, okay.
And so anyway, they just offered me the part. I didn't even audition for it because it was just one line in the original pilot. And at the time, it sounds crazy now, but no one knew what this Netflix thing was going to be.
Right.
House of Cards wasn't out yet. House of Cards and Orange is the New Black were the first 2 big shows they had. So I remember being like, is this going to be like some online web series? Like, I don't know. I'll do it. I know there's some people involved, but like, sounds kind of fishy. And I just had no idea that it would become this thing, this cultural phenomenon. And to this day, it's still the thing I get recognized the most for on the street. And it was such a wonderful experience. I'm so proud of that show, and it was just chock full of so many great actors.
Yeah, it really was. Everyone, you think be fighting for stage time, but they really found a way to make time for and flesh out the characters. And even if you didn't see someone for 5, 6, 7 episodes, there they were again, and it felt like they hadn't left.
Yeah, I agree completely. Every character had a full backstory, a full life. It was so cool in that way. It's
wonderful when you can do a show that really features flashbacks. I just started to watch the new Netflix thing called Unorthodox.
Oh yeah.
The backstories are really nicely fleshed out in flashbacks. So one of the things I noted when looking through your resume and of television is nearly half of the work you've done have been multiple episode shows. So, you have not gotten stuck at all in the cameo guest appearance. You've gotten shows that have multi-tracked, clearly Orange is the New Black, being one of three where you've done tons and tons of episodes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this moment is so great for actors. All these new platforms, with Amazon and Netflix and Hulu and everybody making shows, there's just so much work for everyone, and there's an attention to detail that I don't want to say that it wasn't there prior in television, but it, not to the breadth and depth that it is now. And I think a lot of playwrights are being drawn to television because this new form of binge watching allows you to tell stories in a different way. It's not episodic. Yes. Like you said, characters can go away for a while and pop back up. And so I've been very lucky to have been on a bunch of great shows that I'm really proud of. And to have time to develop not just a one episode guest star where you come in and, do the Law and Order thing where you're like, I did it. I murdered her. That used to be the New York actor. Every New York actor did the triumvirate of Law and Order, SVU, and Criminal Intent, and
right.
And that was all your television work as a New York actor. And now there's just so much to go around. It's it truly is like a golden age.
I think you even got to do. Yeah, you even got to do more episodes of a show that I really adored and wished had not ended, which was Manhattan.
Oh yeah,
you did more, and that subject matter for me was fascinating. So I was, they had me at Atom Bomb right away. Loved it. Yeah. That must have been a great experience too.
That really was. I loved that show, and that's like such a great example of this current moment in television, because that show was based in obviously history and real events and the group of scientists at Los Alamos who developed the atomic bomb. But the show wasn't a documentary or a biopic. It was mostly fictional characters who were based on real people or real events, but we were able to create our own imaginary world within a real construct or within a real framework. So it was such a unique experience, and you weren't bound to like, oh, I'm playing, this real person. You had the freedom artistically to create a brand new human being, but you had all this rich research that you could do. And they built us, I think it was like 10 or 12 acres of a set in New Mexico. We shot that in Santa Fe. And so they built this wartime Los Alamos. So really, as an actor, like all of that stuff was just real. It was right there at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Period scientific stuff to play with. Dusty dirt roads that they built for us. It was just sort of that magic thing of I want to say Hollywood, even though we weren't in California, but the
right.
Of movie,
yeah, just living in the environment. Tasting the dust was actually an important part of that project, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What's it like, since you've worked in the platforms of HBO and Netflix, when you don't know really if you're coming back next year? Whether or not it's going to be renewed, especially early on, but even later on, when the cast is renegotiating contracts, and you wonder, that's got to be an odd feeling to be in limbo for those periods of time.
It is. It's a very weird feeling. And I think, my wife always says, she's like, my wife's not an actor. She's like, I don't know how you do it. And I think you have to develop a real sort of Zen sense of detachment from I can't control that. And if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. And if it's not, it's not. And, when I talk to younger actors and young acting students, I say, even no matter who you are, even Meryl Streep is unemployed sometimes. Like every gig ends. And even if you're Meryl Streep, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get another offer, but there's always downtime. And there's always that moment of like, what's next?
Right. I peaked?
Yeah. And I'm on this CBS show called Tommy right now with Edie Falco. And we were on set one day and she said, oh yeah, I feel the same way. Every time a show ends, I'm convinced I'm never going to work again, And that's sort of just the actor's lot, I guess. But
yeah.
Right now, especially, obviously we are in a crazy moment of global pandemic, but we have a weekly email chain going around with the Tommy cast, and it's just like, we're still like, when do we think we'll get to go back to work? Do we think we'll get picked up? Do we think any shows, when are they going to start again?
Did you get a whole first season under your belt with Tommy, or was that also interrupted?
We did. We always knew it was going to be a short order. It was going to be 12 episodes.
Okay.
Because we were a mid-season replacement. And I also think Edie doesn't want to have to do a full 24 episodes. She's got 2 kids and she's a single mom. And but we had completed everything that we were supposed to do. So we finished in early January.
You know, we at Beck Center are so proud of you and all the great work you've done. And you've also been someone who, you know, in our New York trips and other events, that you continue to be so supportive of your heritage. And we're very grateful for that.
Oh man, right back at you. I mean, it's a mutual feeling. I said it earlier, but I thank you and Beck Center for everything that you gave me and so many other people too. Even if you don't end up becoming a professional actor or a theater maker, I think studying the arts for kids is so important. And, you know, unfortunately, it's not as prevalent in the public school systems now. And to have a place like Beck where kids and adults can go and study the arts, it teaches you so many things, not just performing, but, you know, like how to work with other people, communication skills, you know, how to listen, how to respond in the moment to you know, things that might go awry on stage, you know.
And they do. And they do.
So no, the feeling is mutual. And you know, for anybody watching, support the Beck Center, write a check, go see a show when they're back up and running.
Yep. Thank you so much. That's always part of my closing, is remember that non-for-profits are hurting like everyone else, and maybe even more so right now. So if you get a chance, and I know, you know, if you get a little extra stimulus money that maybe you don't need, you know, think about a nonprofit. And our website, as always, is www.beckcenter.org, and we have a donate page, of course. So Michael, thank you so much. I can't wait to find that moment in time where maybe the prodigal son can return home for a while.
Me too. Thank you, Scott.
That'd be great. Thanks. My guest is Mike Chernus today on Above the Waist, and hopefully we'll see you at the same time next week. Thanks, everybody.